Sure. Four. Okay. Let me see here. How you doing, Johnny? How you doing, everybody? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Peace of Christ to all. It's been a while since I last streamed. I stumbled upon a video and I was hoping we could all go through it together. Let's see if I can share this right quick. Hopefully y'all can hear me okay, those of you on TikTok. Let's see. So apparently this video,
the Chrome extension everyone will be using in 2020. I feel like I just found a Google cheat code. This Chrome extension lets you block.
Hey everyone, welcome.
So it says 15 contradictions in the Bible, basically. And today I'm going to play the video. That way we can all at least go through this misconception that people have been talking about. For those of you who don't know who I am, name is Dave. I just started my apologetic journey. It's been a roller coaster, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm not very well versed, but so far, the Bible hasn't disappointed yet. How you doing, Angelica? The Bible hasn't disappointed yet. So if anyone wants to join in and bring their objections, we can go through that too. The panel is open, but in the meantime, I'm just going to play this video and let's see how we can go through his misconception. It says there are 15 contradictions in the Bible. So let us see what he's talking about. So let's see right here. All right.
Welcome to the open question.
Oh, by the way, YouTube, fair use of someone else's content, it's fair use for educational purposes. So don't flag me. I'm not playing the whole thing. We're just going to go through it's just a 7-minute long video. So let us just go through it and see what contradiction he's talking about. When it comes
The Bible, whether you view it as divine scripture, historical literature, or mythology, is undeniably one of the most influential books ever written. But it's also a book filled with inconsistencies that challenge its claim of infallibility.
Okay, there we go. The Bible is, we consider it divine and inspired. And also he claimed there are inconsistencies and contradictions in the Bible. Let us see what he's talking about in the meantime. What we believe, first of all, as us Christians, we believe the Bible is inspired by men who, so I guess we can say it's divinely inspired, but we don't say is actually everything intact, because over the years, languages change and translations changes, and that's quite unfortunate, because people use that to reiterate the fact that the Bible may not very well be preserved, when in fact it actually is. But let's carry on in the meantime.
Today, we're going to discuss 15 of the most striking contradictions found in its pages. These examples will make you question just how coherent the Bible really is.
Bring it on.
Let's get started. Number 15, the creation order. In Genesis chapter 1, the creation story unfolds in a clear sequence. First, God creates light and separates it from darkness. Then come the skies, land, and plants, followed by animals, and finally humans, male and female, created together. But Genesis 2 paints a very different picture. Here, man is created first. Afterward, God plants a garden, creates animals for companionship, and only later creates woman from man's rib. These two accounts, found side by side, give conflicting versions of the order of creation. Which
Okay. He's saying in the book of Genesis 1 and 2, there are two creation accounts. Is that a contradiction? How you doing, Jay? How you doing, Tony? Right. That's somebody was trying to join just now. Okay, so he started off with the Genesis creation account. In the book of Genesis 1 and 2, there are two. How you doing, Diana? There are two creation accounts. In Genesis 1, it talks about the light being created and everything else, the waters being separated, the land, springing forth from the waters, animals being created, and so on and so forth, and the light being separated from the darkness. Then in Genesis 2, there's another creation account. Oh, looks like we have somebody, Abu Adnan. I know this guy. Anyway, we carry on. So in Genesis 1, the creation account is giving you a narration of how everything came to be. And if you notice, it started out with the earth being formed, but it was still formless. It was created, but it was still formless. And then it went and talked about the light being separated from the darkness, and the water springing forth and separated from the land, and so on and so forth. In the Genesis 2 story, it talks about the creation of man instead. How you doing, Olga? How you doing, Saida? Looks like he's trying to, well, I mean, the platform is open for you guys if you guys want to come and share your opinion. So, is that a contradiction? Because in Genesis chapter 2, it talks about man was created first, and then woman was created out of man. That is not a contradiction if you actually look at the Genesis story more carefully. What do I mean? It's two accounts of creation. That's correct. But everything is already created according to Genesis chapter 1. Alvilis. So everything is already created according to Genesis chapter 1. But in Genesis chapter 2, it gave us a different creation account. Is that a contradiction? Well, the Genesis chapter 2 account of creation is a more secluded creation. This happened in the Garden of Eden. Now, everything is already created according to Genesis chapter 1. But Genesis chapter 2 is a different kind of creation now. It's a creation secluded in a specific area, the Garden of Eden. And also, which is why us Christians, we believe Adam must have seen Jesus Christ creating. Adam must have seen Jesus Christ creating, which is why the serpent went to the one who actually didn't witness any of the creation. Went through Eve. In Genesis chapter 2, that account of creation right there happened only in a specific area, the Garden of Eden. Now, everything is already created according to Genesis chapter 1. But the Genesis chapter 2 account is somewhat special. That was where Jesus Christ, God, played with Adam, spent time with Adam, him naming the animals and so on and so forth, then causing him to sleep after pulling out a rib from him and creating the woman. So, which is why we also believe Adam ate that apple on purpose. He witnessed creation in the Garden of Eden. He spent more time with the Word before the woman was created out of him. So the fact that the serpent was able to go to the woman who actually didn't witness any of the creation at all also proves that Adam must have loved her enough to know what God's will is, so that sin shall die. Disobedience is a sin. So whatever God will have to do to the female, he has to do it to him too, showing his love for her. So there's no contradiction. There are two creation accounts, yes, but the second creation account in Genesis chapter 2 is referring more about the secluded area, the Garden of Eden, which is where Adam and Eve, they were located right after the creation process of everything. So there is no contradiction. He tried to portray it as a contradiction, but if you actually look at it, you will realize that everything is because Genesis chapter 1 already gave you an account, a narration of creation. But Genesis chapter 2 is giving a different creation account entirely. And that is in reference to what happened in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve in it. So that is not a contradiction. How you doing, Costin? Anyway, we carry on.
Which one are we supposed to believe? Number 14. Did God rest? In Exodus 31:17, We're told that after creating the world in 6 days, God rested on the seventh. It's even described as being refreshed, which makes sense for a human but seems odd for an all-powerful being. Then we have Isaiah 40:28, which says God does not grow tired or weary. If God never tires, why would...
Okay. Okay. Now, it's quite unfortunate that I have to say this. This is coming from someone who is really ignorant. Maybe he doesn't know the Bible, and maybe he's just out there, seeking attention. The Genesis account story is saying after the 6 days of creation, God rested. So, and later on down the line in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 28, it said God does not grow tired or weary. So that's a contradiction. This is where you notice maybe people just trying to read the Bible, trying to looking for contradiction and make one. That word rest, that word, after the 6 days of creation, God rested and looked at his work. So he's looking at it like just because it says rest up there, it means God got tired after his creation. The word rest right there is Sabbath. It's a reference to the Sabbath day. And even we know this with the tradition of the Jews, how they have to keep that day holy, during the week. That word right there, Sabbath, if you notice, every day he created, the Bible gave account of the evening and the morning were the first day. How you doing, Jonathan Flores? The evening and the morning were the first day. So, and that was day number 1. Then day number 2, the evening and the morning, day number 2. Day number 3, and the evening and the morning were the third day. And so on and so forth. Who's this? Danny Lamente. Danny, how you doing, Danny? Well, you've been sent an invite. If you want to join, go right ahead. So every day of creation, the Bible gave account of the evening and the morning as one day. But if you notice, after day number 6, God's rest, it actually started. There was no end to it. Because if you notice, day number 1 to day number 6, it tells you the evening and the morning were the first day, were the second day, were the third day. So God entered this day. He entered day number 1, entered day number 2, entered day number 3, entered day number 4. When it came down to day number 7, he entered day number 7, but he never really left, because that was where God's Sabbath started. Well, you've been given an invite. Hey, y'all feel free. How you doing, Exmond, Damon? So it's the evening and the morning were the first day. Evening and the morning were the second day. Evening and the morning were the third day. All the way down to day number 7. But day number 7, he never really left. Meaning God's Sabbath, God's rest started from that day onwards. And this actually gave problem between us Christians, those early Christians, and the Jews, when they were trying to get people to follow the Sabbath laws of the Jews. And we Christians, on the other hand, had to pick Sunday, giving excuse to the fact that if you really read that narration carefully, God's Sabbath never really ended. His Sabbath started that day. And we confirm this from the words of Jesus Christ. My Father has been working up to now, and I'm working. So the Sabbath applies to the Jews. It doesn't apply to us. It's a way of God giving us rest from all things too, in a way. So, but let's carry on. How you doing, Disown? Let's carry on and see
If God
what
never
other
tires, why would he need to
contradictions we're talking
rest?
about.
These descriptions of God's nature are fundamentally at odds with each other. Number 13. How many animals were on the ark? When it comes to Noah's Ark, most people know the version where Noah takes 2 of every kind of animal, 1 male and 1 female. That's what Genesis 6:19-20 says. But just a few verses later, in Genesis 7:2-3, God commands Noah to take 7 pairs of clean animals and 2 pairs of unclean ones. Clean and unclean distinctions wouldn't even exist until much later in biblical history. So, which command did Noah follow? 2 of each, or 7 pairs of some?
Okay. His third contradiction is the Noah account, the flood account. In Genesis, it talks about God giving Noah some kind of order to get those animals, into the ark. It was supposed to be 7 pairs of clean animals and 2 pairs of unclean animals. But later on down that chapter, it says Noah took 2 pairs of each animals into the ark. Okay, now he's saying that as a contradiction. I'll have to call you back. I'm sorry. So he's saying that as a. How you doing, Philip? Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's. So he's saying that as a contradiction because one account say God told Noah to put in 2 of each animals, 2 of each animals in the ark. But in another account, it's saying 7 pairs of the clean animals and 2 pairs of the unclean animals. Is that a contradiction? Well, the only contradiction would be in his head, because we already told that God's order to Noah was 7 pairs of the clean animals. 7 pairs of the clean animals and 2 pairs of the unclean animals. Then going down further down the line, in that very same chapter, it's saying Noah actually took 2 pairs. But if you read it carefully, it's not saying Noah took only 2 pairs of animals in the ark. It's just telling us he ended up taking 2 pairs into the ark, but what God told him to actually, get prepared is 7 pairs of the clean animals and 2 pairs of the unclean animals. So he's looking at it as a contradiction, which is quite unfortunate. Again, like I said, people read the Bible and try to come up with contradictions just for the hate, of it. I mean, I do understand the idea of having to submit to somebody. We as humans, we hate that idea. So it's if you want to read the Bible with those kind of lenses and a preconceived notion, then that is quite unfortunate. But let's carry on and see what other contradictions he has.
Number 12. Does God tempt people? James 1:13 states that God does not tempt anyone and is not tempted by evil. It seems clear-cut. But in Genesis 22:1, we're told that God tested Abraham, instructing him to sacrifice his son Isaac. While some argue that testing isn't the same as tempting, the emotional and moral challenge Abraham faces feels like a form of temptation. This raises a bigger question. Does God test people or not? Number 11.
Yes, God do test people. That is not a contradiction in the Bible. He has to test your love for him. God will reveal himself in a way where he has to he give you tests right afterwards. And we see this all throughout the Bible. With Moses, in Moses's case, when God told him, I'm going to wipe out all the Israelites and I will make you, Moses, a great nation. That right there is a test to see Moses's heart. Just like Job, when Job was tested, one account say God was the one who inflicted Job as a test. But we all know it was Satan, even though God allowed it, So the Bible is written in such a way where if you try to isolate verses, then you are doing the Bible a disservice. Just like in the New Testament, where it says Jesus Christ baptized people right after you guys keep trying to. There you go. I sent you an invite. If you want to join, feel free. Just like in the New Testament where it says Jesus Christ baptized people. But the very next chapter tells you it was his disciples that were actually baptizing people, not Jesus Christ himself. So the Bible is written in such a way, again, like I said, if you actually want to find contradiction in the Bible. How you doing, Cliff? That's what's going to happen. You're going to start reading it with a preconceived notion. And it's quite unfortunate because in this day and age, we have more and more people believing less. Yet we are not pastors or priests, but we also have to do our part. How you doing, Johnny? So I don't know why he called that a contradiction. And he mentioned the story of Abraham, telling Abraham to sacrifice his son. But to tell you that is a test, God already gave Abraham a promise. Your seed, he led him outside and said, count the stars if you can. Your seed is going to be as many as the stars if you can count them. Then it tells him right afterwards, okay, now take your only son and I'm going to lead you to a place for you to sacrifice your only son to me. Now, that right there shows you the heart of Abraham. He loved God enough to know that God will not disappoint in his promise. God already promised that his descendants is going to be numerous. And because just like the numbers in the of the stars in the sky, he couldn't count them. So God has to fulfill that promise. For God later on telling him, your only son, go ahead and sacrifice your only son to me. That right there proves that that Abraham actually believed in his God. He believed in Yahweh. How you doing, Mas Brown? He believed in him to the point of knowing God will not disappoint or go back to his promise. That is the living God we serve, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Which is also proves that Abraham showed enough love for God to be able to sacrifice or trying to sacrifice his only son. Which is why God himself had to honor that, sending his own son to show the greater love for us humanity. So that is not a contradiction. Let's carry on. See what other
can be seen. The Gospel of John couldn't be clearer. No one has ever seen God. Yet in Genesis 2:30, Jacob claims, I have seen God face to face, and yet my life was spared. Similar claims of seeing God appear elsewhere in the Old Testament, like when Moses speaks to God face to face. So which is it? Has anyone seen God or not? Number 10.
Okay. Yeah, his other contradiction is talking about, how you doing, O'Danny? His other contradiction is talking about no one has seen God at any time. So has God been seen? Which is why we are Trinitarians. Trinitarian doctrine, it makes perfect sense because we know that the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, even in the Old Testament, let's take, for example, the account of Moses, the example he mentioned, where Moses was on Mount Sinai. How you doing, John Green? Moses was on Mount Sinai. If you read that narration, Moses spoke to the Father and the angel of the Lord, who also appeared to him right there. He's speaking to both. It's not one or the other. If you come up with a preconceived notion that God has to be one person, one being, just like you. These are the kind of problems you're going to run into. The angel of the Lord, which happens to be the word, according to the Bible, is the presence, God's presence. That's who this angel of the Lord is. This particular angel does what only God does. He forgives sins. He was the one who led the people out of Egypt, the Israelites, and he's the one who actually make God known. And that word, no one has seen God. The word see, I think in the Hebrew is orahu, to see, to perceive, to understand, to know, not see in a physical sense. No one has seen God at any time, just like the New Testament said, except for the word of God who's made him known, the Son who's made God known to us, to understand, to perceive, to know. That's what that word see represent. So again, this just shows his ignorance, because he's reading the Bible, on the face value. And when you read the Bible like that on the face value, these are the kind of objections or problems you run into where you don't have to, where you don't have answers for, which is why we are Trinitarians. Every time it says God has been seen in the Old Testament, it is Jesus Christ making the Father known. Yes, Jesus Christ is the name he got after the reincarnation, but he appeared as the angel of the Lord, appeared human to us human, making God known to us. That's what it means to see God. When Moses gave description of God revealing himself, and God actually went past him, telling him, I will show you my back. And to make sure you don't pass out, Jesus Christ was there with him, the rock that held him in place, why God the Father actually passed by him, for him not to be swayed away. So every time that the Father has been made known, even in the Old Testament, it is Jesus Christ, the Word, making God known. Which is why you don't read the Bible at face value. It's quite unfortunate he calls it a contradiction. So yet again, like I said, we don't read the Bible at face value. That would be very dishonest on our part. It's called, the theophany is called anthropomorphism. That's what it's called. Anthropomorphism, where we use human language to describe God or describe what God does or who God is. That's what it is. But let's carry on with this contradiction.
The Ten Commandments version. Most people know the Ten Commandments from Exodus 20, don't steal, don't kill, honor your parents, and so on. But in Exodus 34, there's a completely different set of commandments, including ones about not boiling a young goat in its mother's milk. Both are called the Ten Commandments, but they're clearly not the same. This contradiction raises questions about which set of laws was actually given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Number 9.
Okay, he said it's a contradiction because there's two accounts of commandments given to the Jews, given to Moses. One is the Ten Commandments that we know, and he mentioned another one further down. That was in the book of
Moses on Mount Sinai. Number 9. About which set of laws was. Both are called the Ten Commandments, but they're clearly not the boiling a young goat in its mother's milk.
Exodus 34.
But in
Okay, so we have the Ten Commandments, the one that we are well aware about. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, honor your father and your mother, you keep the Sabbath holy, do not worship any other God, and all that. But in Exodus 34, he said there's a different set of commandments, more laws. Okay, now, is that a contradiction? No, because Every other law that came later on, especially for the Jews, they all can be summarized or plugged into the first 10 commandments given to Moses on Mount Sinai. So that is not a contradiction. And to prove that, Jesus Christ summarized this 10 commandments, he summarized it into two laws. Love your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength, and love your neighbor. So love God, love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus Christ summarized all 10 commandments into two laws. For the Jews, they came out with over 632 laws out of the 10 commandments alone. And this is proven by their book, their oral tradition, the Talmud. So giving more laws and how to live the life doesn't contradict the first 10 commandments given to Moses on Mount Sinai. How you doing, Anna? How you doing, Seb? It's just further elaborating on the laws. Just like Jesus Christ was fulfilling the law, the 10 commandment laws. We're not going by the oral tradition of the Jews, the laws that they came up with in the Talmud. That is law. Those are laws that their rabbis, brought out or came about trying to understand the 10 commandment laws of Moses. So that is not a contradiction. It's an elaboration of the previous law. That's all it is. But let's carry on. See
Exodus
what
34. There's a completely different set of commandments, including ones about not boiling a young goat in its mother's milk. Both are called the 10 Commandments, but they're clearly not the same. This contradiction raises questions about which set of laws was actually given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Number 9. How did Judas die? In Matthew 27:5, Judas hangs himself after betraying Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. But in Acts 1:18, Judas buys a field with his ill-gotten money, falls headfirst, and his body bursts open. These two accounts not only differ in how Judas died, but also what he did with the betrayal money. Did he throw it back at the priests or use it to buy land? The two stories are completely irreconcilable.
Okay, he's talking about the contradiction with the death of Judas. In the Matthew account, Judas is said to have been crucified upside down, if I remember right. But in the book of Acts, it's talking about he talked about that a field was bought with the money, and he fell headlong, busting out and died. Is that a contradiction? No. Again, the Bible is written in such a way where you find problems like this if you only read at face value. The account that talks about Judas dying and throwing the money back at those rabbis who, wanted Jesus Christ dead. And he wept bitterly and went and crucified himself. The book of Acts mentions how Judas's how Judas's discipleship was supposed to be replaced, and this is in the book of Acts. So that money was used to buy a land, but the book of Acts said nobody should dwell in that land. That land has to be desolate, and we have to find a replacement, which is where the disciples came together and casted lots, and Matthias was chosen to replace Judas, since he was the one who betrayed Jesus. So in a way, we can say, yes, Judas also bought that land because it is the money, that same money that was used to buy the land. So it's not a contradiction. That is the land where he died, where he was crucified. We can also say that land was bought, was bought with that money. The only contradiction is in his head, this guy right here. Again, it's quite unfortunate because people read the Bible at face value. How you doing, Davis. We don't read the Bible like that. The Bible is written in a way where you have to read the whole story to get the full gist of it. Just like I gave example of Job, that God was the one who struck Job. But we know in the previous chapter, it was the devil who struck Job. God gave him permission. And even God said, you swayed me against him. So the Bible is written in such a way where you don't isolate verses and you try to come up with contradictions. That would be doing the Bible a disservice. So that is quite unfortunate that he's bringing all these objections like this. But let us see what other contradictions he has.
Number 8. Jesus' last words. The Gospels don't agree on Jesus' final moments. In John 19:30, his last words are, "It is finished," before he bows his head and dies. But in Luke 23:46, Jesus says, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." These are two very different sentiments. One a declaration of completion, the other a prayer of surrender. Which one truly captures his last moments?
Okay. Which one truly captured Jesus Christ's last moment? In the book of Luke, it says his last scream and he gave up the ghost. In the other account, in John, it says, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And in Luke account, it's saying it is finished. So which one was Jesus Christ's last words? Remember, this is one gospel. We have one gospel, 4 accounts. That's what we have. One gospel, 4 accounts. The synoptic gospels is almost word for word. Obviously, you're going to find a few differences here and there. It doesn't matter. Each one of them completes each other. That is how we read the gospel, all 4 accounts. We don't isolate one account. We try to get the whole gist of the story. For example, one of the accounts, let me give you an example. One of the accounts in the gospel, when Jesus Christ was brought, to Pilate's palace, and we get the narration where one of the soldiers struck Jesus and tell him, "Who struck you? Point to the person that actually struck you and show us that you're actually who you say you are." And Jesus said, "Why did you strike me just now?" So if you read that story, you like saying, what's going on? But if you read a different account, it tells you that Jesus Christ was blindfolded. Now it makes sense. So we don't read one account, and just isolate the rest. And one account is saying, Jesus Christ said, "Why did you strike me just now?" And the soldier is telling him, "If you are really who you say you are, prophesy, point to who actually struck you." We don't get he was blindfolded in that very account. But when you read a different account, it tells you, yes, okay, Jesus Christ was blindfolded, which will make more sense about the conversation going on. So that's not how we read the Bible again. We don't just read the Bible at face value, which is why this guy right here is doing the Bible a disservice. It's quite unfortunate. It's going to be 2025. We still have these people reading the Bible so blasphemously, and it's quite unfortunate. But let's carry on. I still got like 3 more minutes to the video. So I just want to see what other objections or inconsistencies in the Bible like he claimed. But so far, we've been able to debunk each one of them. So far, we see that he don't really read the Bible like he's supposed to. But let's carry on.
Number 7. How long did the flood last? Genesis 7:24 says the floodwaters covered the earth for 150 days. But in Genesis 8, we're told the waters began receding after 40 days, and the ark came to rest on dry land shortly afterward. Did the floodwaters last 150 days, or was it over after just 40? The timeline simply doesn't add up. Number 6.
Okay, y'all heard that yourself, right? The flood story. One account say after 40 days the water was receding. and the other account said the water lasted for 40 days, covered everything for 40 days. Is that a contradiction? Again, this is to show you how ignorant this guy is. If water starts receding, doesn't mean it's dried up completely. It's telling you that the water is receding little by little. And another account is telling you that the water lasted for 140 days, meaning after 140 days, that was when everything, dried up. So he's reading the Bible again at face value, which is quite unfortunate. We have to do better. We can't just read the Bible like that, because the Bible is not written, it's not written for you to isolate verses here and there. That is not a contradiction. If it starts raining right now and I tell you the water is receding, does that mean it's dry completely? No. It means the water is slowly and gradually, drying up. And the other account proved that, saying it took 140 days before land actually appeared after the flood. So that is not a contradiction. That is quite unfortunate that we read the Bible like that. We have to do better. We have to do better. Let's carry on with this other contradiction.
Is salvation by faith or works? Ephesians 2:8-9 is a cornerstone of Christian belief, stating that salvation comes through faith alone, not by works. Yet James 2:24 says the opposite: a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. This contradiction has fueled theological debates for centuries. Is it faith, works, or some combination of both? Number 5.
Is faith, works, some combination of both? That's his contradiction. Are we saved by faith alone, or are we saved by works? Well, you have to have faith to do the work, because Jesus Christ told us we have to go preach. We have to invite people. We have to preach the good news, show them the good news. So it is both and. It's not one or the other. Again, you're reading the Bible like this, you're going to try to come up with contradictions in your head. That is not a contradiction. Because if you love Jesus Christ anyways, you're going to want to keep and preserve that faith. And also you will want to do the work and invite people to Christ. So it's both and. That's what it is. It is not a contradiction. Alvis, let's continue. Let's carry on. We still got like 2 more minutes to the end of the video.
Who killed Goliath? Everyone knows the story of David and Goliath. In 1 Samuel, David kills the giant with a sling and a stone. But in 2 Samuel, a warrior named Elhanan is credited with killing Goliath. While some argue this might be referring to a different Goliath, the text doesn't make that distinction clear, leaving room for confusion. Number 4.
Okay, so whatever contradiction he thinks that is quite unfortunate, because even the Jews attributed the killing of Goliath to David alone. So you got to understand, we Christians, we are also a Jewish branch. All these Old Testament inaccuracies that he's talking about, the Jews already went through all that. How you doing, Tommy? So that is not a contradiction. The one who killed Goliath was David. That's who killed Goliath. And this is something that also has been passed down from generation to generation, with the Gentiles also drafted in, into the Messianic branch. So that is not a contradiction, which is why we see talk about the stories today, stories of King David and King Solomon and Moses and the rest of them. That is not a contradiction. But let's carry on.
Was Paul alone or with others? During Paul's dramatic conversion on the road to Damascus, Acts 9 says his companions heard a voice but didn't see anyone. But in Acts 22, Paul says they saw the light but didn't hear the voice. These conflicting accounts raise questions about the reliability of this pivotal moment in Christian history. Number 3. How many...
Okay, his next contradiction is about Paul. that when Paul gave his testimony, according to him, the people that were with Paul at the time before his conversion, because before the people, because the light fell off the horse, they couldn't see anyone, but he did. Paul did, but the people didn't see anyone. How you doing, Tommy Turf? But in the other account, it's saying Paul and the people, they saw the light, but didn't see anyone, but didn't hear anything. Which one is it? Okay, well, is Paul's actual experience. The first one is talking about him and the people. They actually heard something. They didn't see nobody. The second account is talking about Paul and the people witnessing the light, but didn't hear anything. So Paul is the only one hearing Jesus Christ saying, "Why are you persecuting me, Paul? Why, Paul, why persecutest thou me?" And one of the accounts saying that the people heard what was going on, but didn't see anything. And the other one is saying they saw the light, but didn't hear anything. So is that a contradiction? The first account that says he didn't, how you doing, Usaha, Dandoa? The first account that says Paul and the people heard but didn't see anything is referring to them here. They heard Paul. They heard Paul talking to something, but they didn't see anything. They heard Paul actually talking to something. Now he's talking like he's talking to himself. They're hearing him, conversating, but they didn't see anything. The other account is saying they didn't hear anything. Obviously, they didn't hear who was talking to Paul. They only heard Paul's voice. How you doing, Elonis, I think. So that is not a contradiction. It's quite unfortunate he calls that a contradiction, but yet again, this is what happens when you read the Bible at face value. We don't read the Bible like that. So we got 1 more minute here, so we're almost done.
Women visited Jesus' tomb. Matthew says 2 women, Mary Magdalene and another Mary, visited Jesus' tomb. But John 21 mentions only Mary Magdalene. Mark and Luke provide different versions as well. If this event was so significant, why are the accounts so inconsistent? Number 2.
Okay, his other contradiction is how many women appeared in the tomb after the resurrection. Was it the 2 women or was it just Mary Magdalene according to Luke's gospel? Well, yet again, this proves that it's quite unfortunate he has to see that as a contradiction. It's not a contradiction. In Luke's account, that was what he saw. You understand? In the other account, that was what he saw. That is not a contradiction. Even right now, you're looking at me right now. If I tell you to describe what is behind me, I'm pretty sure there's going to be differences. You guys are looking at both the same thing. It's just like a teacher who puts a picture on the board and tells the student, describe what you see. Somebody may forget this little bridge right here. Another person will forget this, there's a plate right here. Somebody may forget to add, look at this nice pond right here. So even though we are all looking at the same picture, our description of that picture is not going to be the same word for word. So you only get contradictions in your head like this when you try to find contradiction attacking the Bible, which is quite unfortunate. Which is quite unfortunate. But let's carry on. Let's see what other contradictions he has. Let's carry on. Let's see here.
Should we? Proverbs 26:4 advises, do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you will be like him. But the very next verse says, answer a fool according to his folly, or he will be wise in his own eyes. These back-to-back verses seem to contradict each other, leaving readers confused about how to handle fools.
What he's talking about is one of the verses said, "Do not answer a fool according to his folly," and right after that it says, "Answer a fool lest he think he's wise." You know, the New Testament gave actually reiterated this fact. It is, you can call out blasphemers. Even church fathers had their own fair share of heretics way back in the day where they have to call out, just like Peter and John. You know, if it's a public heresy or someone trying to bringing contradictions publicly, you can answer that person publicly. How you doing, George? How you doing, Lopez? That person you can answer publicly. Answer a fool according to his folly. If it's someone, which is why you notice this in debates, if it's someone like Muslims, you guys have seen our Muslim debate. They just repeat themselves and like robots. Now, those kind of fools, if you want to tackle them, and eventually they're going to bring you down to their level. You show them the truth and they want to keep going on about this like they know what they're talking about. You leave them alone and you go your way. But if it's something has to do with what you have to put them in place, then you put them in their place. That is not a contradiction. If you're someone who's just keep repeating himself and repeating himself, even after you show him the truth, then there's nothing else you can do. That's what that verse is talking about. Answer a fool according to his folly. Or you don't answer him, lest it bring you down to his own intelligence, bring you down to his own folly. Which is why some people hate debates. People just don't know how to debate sometimes. And you can tell from people who keep repeating themselves like Muslims. Looks like somebody trying to join. I don't know. Who's this? Well, you've been sent an invite. How you doing, Vernon? So, but hijab is mandatory for Muslima. No excuses. Salam alaikum. Hello, can you hear me?
Wa'alik.
Salam alaikum.
Are you Muslim?
No, I'm not Muslim. I'm Christian.
Okay, wa'alik.
Where are you from?
America. I'm in America. I'm from Oman.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Where are you from, my friend?
Oman.
Can you speak English?
Yes.
I can barely hear you. I was asking where you was from.
Oman.
Okay, well, Happy New Year, my friend.
I don't say that. I don't celebrate that.
I'm sorry, I can't understand you. Okay, I'm gonna have to let you go. It sounds like you're here just to distract me or something. How you doing, KJ? Thanks for joining in. Do you want to engage or?
Yeah, bro.
Okay. Anyway, we carry on. We almost done, guys. So that was no, I don't want to talk to you again. Stop inviting me. I just invited you. Didn't want to say anything. Don't start distracting me, please. So we carry on. Let's continue with his contradictions and see what else we have going on. Let me see if I can put this back up here. Okay, we almost done, guys. Still got a few more seconds left in the video.
Number 1. Who was Joseph's father? Matthew 1:16 lists Jacob as Joseph's father, while Luke 3:23 names Heli. Some suggest one genealogy is legal while the other is biological, but the text doesn't clarify this. For a lineage as important as Jesus, you'd think the accounts would align. As we've seen.
Okay, his last contradiction is the genealogy that was given in the account of, in the New Testament. One is given an account of Joseph's lineage, and the other is given an account of something different according to him. But this just shows you how stupid he is. I'm sorry to use the word, but that's just really, even us. I have two sets of grandparents. I have my grandparents from my mother's side, and I have my grandparents from my father's side. Same thing with the genealogy given right here for Jesus Christ's birth. We know Joseph is not his real father, but Jesus Christ comes down the line of David through Mary. One is given the maternal side of lineage, account from his mother's side. The other is given account from his father's side. Even you have two sets of grandparents. We all do. I have my grandparents from my mother's side, and I have my grandparents from my father's side. That is not a contradiction. Again, which is why I say people just trying to read the Bible, trying to find contradictions in the Bible. It's about to be 2025. Us Trinitarians, it's time for us to come out, open our mouth, and speak. We can't leave it alone for the pastors. We can't leave it alone for the bishops, for the priests. We have to do our own part. This is very important that we go out there and we speak. If not, we're going to have all these blasphemous objections coming up like this. This is just to give you a taste of how people read the Bible just to find contradictions, seeking attention, when in fact there is no contradiction, and the only contradiction is in their head. That is quite unfortunate. I'm sorry to say. It's 2025. We have to speak. Put these people in their place. Speak. That silence in itself is evil. If you know somebody is coming out doing blasphemous things like this, open your mouth and speak. Go out there and put them in their place. What's the worst that can happen? They can block you, they can ban you, and all that. But we shouldn't let them get away with murder. It's going to be 2025. You guys have to buckle up now. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. The hate the world have for Christianity, Jesus Christ alone, we can't be mad about it, because why? Our Lord was hated first. He told you, remember, I was hated first. That hateful is bugging, and I don't know why. We have to speak and do our part. Speak. How are you doing, Alex? So when people come up with contradictions like this and reading the Bible at face value, that shows the kind of person you are. It's quite unfortunate. How you doing, Proverbs 8:22? I haven't seen you in a while. Happy New Year, my friend. That's quite unfortunate. So let's stop sharing right here. So hopefully you guys was able to go through everything we just went through. Those on YouTube. It's quite unfortunate that people have to do this. We have to do our part now. It's 2025. You know, let's go out there and put these people in their place. And it's very, very important that we do. Very, very important. May God have mercy on all of us. I pray for 2025 to be a year of breakthrough for everybody. 2025 to be a year of blessing for everybody. 2025 to be whatever you've been seeking. This will be a year of breakthrough. I'm praying for your blessing. And this we ask in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. The God-man, the Messiah, he is coming back, so we have to be ready. And I guess I will see you guys again later. Maybe I will go ahead and stream again later and we can talk about other topics. Hopefully by then, someone else who may want to come and share his opinion, but we'll see at the end of the day. Thank you so much, everybody, and peace out. Now, right. No technical issues. Right here. See if we can end the stream. I didn't finish out my